Yeah, man. So Softwave, man, I did it. I started. So I have terrible knees. I have multiple ACL surgeries. Like for 10 years, I've had meniscus in my right knee. So I've had bone on bone. Like in my mid 20s, I was depressed because I lost my ability to play sports because my knees were so bad.
This was like,
So,
this goes back to like high school, right? Like just whatever knee problems or.
well, no. So the first time I tore my knee up was in high school, my sophomore year, but I actually came back very strong from that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had like maybe 20% meniscus. So when it comes down to like your knees, ACLs, PCLs, MCLs, all these things, with how medicine is, you'll come back stronger. Those ligaments will be stronger than your natural ones because of just the advancements of medicine. But the problem is your cartilage. You can't regrow cartilage. So when you lose it, it's gone forever. So if you have opportunity, and this is for anybody on the podcast, if you ever in a situation where you have meniscus damage and you have the option to not have surgery and let it heal because people want to take the quick route because with the meniscus, you could just scope it out, cut it out essentially and go back to playing sports that same day and feel like brand new, but you're not going to get that back again. So over time, well, I mean, all of us naturally lose our cartilage in our knees, but when you lose it like that, you're going to have these arthritis flare-ups, bone spurs, things like that. So I have that in my right knee because long story short, I've had 2 ACL surgeries on my left knee, one on my right knee, and 1 arthroscopic scope on my right knee to take my meniscus out. So 4 total surgeries. And over this whole process, like I lost, my right leg was a peg leg. I could barely bend my knee. Every step I took, so for like 4 years, I had a torn ACL on my left knee while my right leg was a peg leg. I just didn't have time to get surgery. So long story short, my right leg became completely useless. And I realized this in hindsight after I get my Softwave treatments. So what I learned is that from my hip down to my toes, no feeling. I could barely bend my knee. Mental state is terrible. I go from playing sports. I mean, Tunde, you grew up with me in high school. Like I lived, breathed sports. I loved playing it, every single sport. I loved playing it. Like it was my identity, right?
I feel
So
it,
you go
100%.
playing that and then you lose it. And I played up until like I was like maybe 23, I was playing like heavily all these sports. But then you lose that ability and this was like you learn this in hindsight. That was like my mental health relief, like going out there, just the exercise, all this stuff, the competitiveness, winning a game, the dopamine from that, all these things. It was just like making you a human being.
Absolutely.
It gives you the emotions, the feelings.
Yeah.
Then I go to just losing it. I can't do it. I'm gaining weight. Even when I'm watching what I eat, because my digestion's not the same. I'm getting older, all these things. I can't work out as much. It's still like adds on. So you gain weight. You can't work out because your knees hurt and you watch what you eat, but you do a slight deviation of your diet. You gain weight. You go to work out. It's like this circular reference where you're just kind of doomed.
Yeah.
So my only option was to get a knee replacement in my right knee. And so I was like 29 at the time. And that was my only option. So 29-year-old, what the only option was a knee replacement. And they said, you're too young to get a knee replacement because if you do it now, you'll have to do it again when you're like 55 because usually it's not done this early.
Right.
So they're like, you're just gonna have to wait it out until you get older and then do it. So
damn,
great.
They just like tough
Doc.
it out. Yeah.
Thanks, Doc. They're like, well, fuck you. You did it to yourself. I'm like, true that. So, I don't blame doctors. They warn you. I literally had arthroscopic surgery in my right knee to remove my meniscus. And this was like 2012, 2011, something like that. The doctor told me you can only play basketball maybe once a year, twice a year with your family, friends on a holiday. You go back, see your friends, things like that. But you're done playing basketball. You have to do like ellipticals, biking, swimming, all these things.
Wait, so did you have the meniscus removed so that you could recover faster?
No, so what happened is my meniscus was completely torn and it was like there was nothing they could do. So what happened is I kept playing backyard sports like an idiot. I would go play in Snellville. Shout out to Briscoe Park. Backyard football with no pads, like full on tackle football. And throughout this, and also playing basketball nonstop, I would hurt my knee. And I should have gone to the doctor. I had health insurance. I would just put a brace on it and go out there and just play. Right? Like,
Gotta tough it out, man.
And some useless ass recreational, not even rec, just for fun, social fun type games. And I'm wrapping it up because I just want to play. I don't want to miss playing, right? So I do all these things. Come to find, and I was in the most excruciating pain where I could barely put my foot on the ground, but I would still walk, you know? And so I tore it so much to where my meniscus would flap up. And so it'd be vertical in my knee joint instead of being horizontal. And so that is what was causing the pain. And that's why it would come and go, is because it was a vertical flap, come up and down. And so the doctor to me, he was like, how have you been like walking? I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot,
man. You know? I can't picture that because I don't know what the anatomy of it is, but I'm just like cringing, so like, oh like man.
So, like, here's your knee joint. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it goes like this, right? In between here is this cartilage. So when you're going like this, it's not just straight up bone on bone. And for the listeners, I'm over here holding my knuckles against each other, north southwise vertically, and saying that in between my fists is where the cartilage should be so that it's not bone on bone. And so he told me you can only play once a week. You know what my dumb ass did? I was playing basketball 2-3 times a week.
Look, man, that's how you do it.
Meniscus, right? And so doing that, I put too much stress on my left leg, ended up tearing my left ACL. I didn't have time for 4 years to get surgery on my left ACL. So 4 years, that was torn. Right leg was a peg leg because no meniscus, and I didn't fully rehab it out correctly. So torn knee and left knee, peg leg in the right leg. I finally get surgery on my left knee. And then I come across this thing called Softwave. It was an Instagram ad. And I've finished my rehab with my left knee, and I'm just like, all right, you know, moving on with life. Okay, at least I have one good leg now, or a decent leg. And
what do you mean by peg leg?
Peg leg, you know, you think of like a pirate, and you ever think of like the cartoons where they have one leg that's just a wooden leg?
Yeah.
That's how my right leg was. It was completely useless. It didn't bend. It didn't have any nerve feeling.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't contract my quad. I couldn't contract my hamstring. My calf has dwindled away. The disparity between my right leg and my left leg was crazy in terms of the size of my leg.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
Atrophied, basically.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty bad, man. And so because of that, I was depressed, man, and it sucked. Life sucked. And so, I came across, this thing called, Softwave. It was an Instagram ad, and it's basically, I'll show you, I got the machine right here. The machine's right there. It's a little box, and then it comes with this applicator right here.
Yep, I see it.
And so what happens is you just apply this applicator around the damaged areas, all right? And so what happens is this technology came about from kidney stones.
Yeah.
So
ultrasound, right?
So basically there's this thing that they would basically send shock waves to break up a kidney stone into smaller pieces so that you can pass it easier.
Yep.
So they were doing this research, whatever, and then they come to find out when they moved this applicator over a damaged area, there was a slight pain in the body. And what was happening is these shock waves were hitting the damaged area and activating dormant stem cells. So what's happening
interesting
is that you're activating your dormant stem cells and your body starts to come heal itself. So inflammation.
The best type of healing.
Right. So non-invasive, no needles, no pills, no nothing. I went for this session. I was like, I got nothing to lose. It's $49.99. Let me go. Let me go check this out. And this was like pre-pandemic. All right. So this was a while ago. Maybe like 2018, 2019, maybe more like 2019. So I go, the guy gives me the spiel on the whole thing about the thing. So he says is soft tissue regeneration is the whole tagline of this technology. I do one session. It lasted 10 minutes. He did it. I felt the certain pains. I was like, oh yeah, right there, hit it there, like keep it there. So basically what happens is if you move it over a healthy area, there's no reaction from the body. You move it over a damaged area, your body feels a slight pain. It's bearable, right? But the more pain, the better, because that means it's a very damaged area or there's a lot going on. There's a lot of inflammation, a lot of scar tissue. That's a lot of the main causes of a lot of the problems in our bodies, inflammation and scar tissue, right? And so he does it 10 minutes. I am able to bend my knee all the way after one 10-minute session.
Yeah.
And I this is not a paid endorsement. I've sent over the years like a good 7, 8 to 10 people to this guy that I went to, and they've been using it. And I wasn't getting paid from it. I didn't benefit. I got a couple free sessions for the referrals. But like outside of that, I didn't get paid for it because truly it was life-changing to me. I was able to then put all this, basically bend my leg and put it all the way down, right? And put all this pressure that I was never able to do before. So fast forward after so long story short, back then I paid, it was 9 sessions for like $1,200. Okay. This is stem cell therapy costing me $1,200 with no needles, using my own stem cells to heal my body. I was able to heal my neuropathy and my atrophy. Like, it was amazing. It was like as if my leg was coming back online. Like my leg was unplugged. And as he was doing these sessions, it was like whoop, 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 like a robot just coming back online, man. And that is when it all realized. I was like, that's what it feels like to have feeling in my foot again. That's what it feels like to have these feelings. Like, I just thought that like I was fat. And then that my leg is just that's a fat person's leg, I'm fat now. So there's just no feeling there, right? But so that once those 9 sessions got me back right, and it got me back in my like depression gone, all these things. And so I've been doing it now just as maintenance and stuff like that. But now I was able to, like a year ago, I hold on my 1-year-old daughter. I had to run from the car to the store. Wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have Softwave. I mean, just literally everything. It was an opportunity again because of Softwave. And so it's just mind blowing. And so, yeah, man, that's Softwave. So yeah, so speaking of, so I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna get a machine. I'm gonna serve the people, man. So I created a company with 2 good friends, and we call it Softwave and Motion.
Okay.
And so we are the only mobile Softwave providers in the state of Georgia. Everything is so economical. Like I told you, my 9 sessions back then, everything's got a little more expensive now, but it's still very relatively cheap.
I mean, when you're comparing it against surgeries,
surgeries. And then here's the other thing. There's so much data behind the usefulness and effectiveness of this machine that like they had a recent study to where basically they were using this to help people recover from cardiac surgery. And there's like this one indicator where this is like a good indicator. And I'm not a scientist, so I don't know, but this was like the gist of the research was that this indicator went from like 5% to like 12%. And that's a big increase when you're talking about usefulness and effectiveness when it comes to rehab and recovery. This machine was helping that. This machine can also help open infected wounds. It has an antimicrobial effect. I found out, I was like, what? That's crazy. Yeah, it can help ED, like erectile dysfunction. I haven't done that, like, and the guy that like was telling me about it, he's like, oh, look, I ain't never done it. Okay. Don't ask me to do it, but it can do it. Okay. And I was like, all right, man, that's cool. Literally. So that was a $1,200 investment. It has a 90% success rate.
with
no needles.
with knee stuff or
just in general, like what you're trying to use it for in terms of treating the pain and inflammation and all this stuff. 90% effective rate.
Yeah.
A success rate. Your normal your normal stem cell therapy where you basically withdraw the blood, put it in a centrifuge, run it through with the enrichment and with the stem cells and put it back into your knee. That is like at least $2,000 a session.
Yeah.
And it's like a 50% success rate. So
Right.
like the people that go to like Tijuana and Colombia to do the whole stem cell infusions, yeah, you'll feel good for a little bit, but it's not a long-term reasonable solution to it because it's not gonna really stick.
Right.
In order to do it, you have to be very rich and do it frequently for it to work all the time, you know? But this is like an awesome solution. So we're in the process of getting our website up and running, but holler at me, ATL_P if you want to know more about it. Or I can just point you guys in the direction of the website. We're kind of in the discussions on the domains.
Stealth mode.
Yeah. It's funny how things go, man. Domains and stuff is such a big deal. Like, apparently Softwave and Motion is already taken. It's like, who would take that?
They took it waiting for you. They're like, man, that boy Parodies, he's going to be trying to get this domain. I'm about to cash out. But hey, man, thank you for sharing your story. That's pretty incredible. I didn't know how much you were going through with your knee. Like we've spoken about it here and there, and I knew that, it was challenging and maybe you experienced some pain, but I didn't know that you were like, that you were losing like mobility and use of your leg, and then also the mental health piece of it too, which is so true. I mean, you hear athletes talk about this all the time, just like how, you hear it both ways where they put so much into their sport that it kind of takes a toll on them mentally. But but on the flip side, if they're not engaging and competing and doing what they love to do, that also takes a toll mentally. So thank you for sharing, your story. Look, man, look, I know exactly what the doctors are saying. They're going to try to, I don't know, where I guess the medical profession stands on this, because if people are experiencing such great results, like, why is this not more the first line treatment,
I don't know, but I mean, people that know about it use the hell out of it. Like NFL teams use it, MLB. Golfers use it. It's because, there's no money in the cure, right? And this is it's not a cure, but it's a very effective, reasonable thing to do. I mean, they don't make money. It's not like they make money off the opioids. They make money off the prescribing those things.
Right. Or the major surgeries. Or the major surgeries, like the knee replacements and all that. So
yeah, man. Yeah. People are so quick to cut.
Right.
They don't want to think about, okay, maybe we should think about, it's just this whole idea of the holistic approach to it it just makes a lot more sense to cut out the BS. I mean, look at the foods that we eat.
Mm-hmm.
That's not any good for us. The pills and medicines that they give for us are not good.
Yeah.
It's crazy now, man. I try to use fruits and all these other things for what they need. Like if I need a cleanse, I'm gonna blend up some pineapples and cucumbers and eat and drink that, and
right,
instead of taking some type of pill, so it's like,
yeah. Well, look, man, I can go down this road a lot. I will wrap it up by saying that to me this is kind of similar to what's happening with psychedelics.
Oh yeah, dude, a friend of mine just went.
Gotcha.
Life-changing.
Okay. Well,
like life-changing. I don't want to speak about his experience, but I can tell you, I don't want to tell you details about it, but on air. But dude, life-changing for him.
That's great to hear. Well, see, this is where what you told me about your story is kind of similar. So in Massachusetts, we're getting ready to vote on, I already voted, but ballot 4, which is to legalize psychedelics. It's more so decriminalization, but then there's also going to be a sort of process or a system for people to get psychedelic treatment, so that will be the legal side of it. And I guess it's not just decriminalization. You can grow it. But anyway, this is a ballot to like legalize psychedelics and create a system where people can receive psychedelic treatments legally. And so there's been a couple debates on some of the radio shows, and there's a psychiatrist, and he's just like, well, it's going to be harmful, and we don't know what is, we haven't researched this enough, and people could have psychotic breaks. I mean, all of these things. I mean, these are legitimate arguments, but it's like, for whatever reason, you can't hold it in your mind that there's other ways for people to heal. And I believe that we should strive for evidence. I mean, you did describe evidence in terms of the cardiology treatment, like we should strive to develop evidence for the treatments that we use in our societies. But at the same time, I'm like, look, man, like people, this is like a libertarian perspective. Like, people should be able to try what they want. And unfortunately, there probably will be not a lot of harm, but, and I'm talking about psychedelics, not Softwave, but also generally speaking, like treatments that are not endorsed and sort of within this medical framework. Like, yeah, maybe there at times some people will not have the best experience. And specifically with psychedelics, someone could have a bad trip, and people with a history of mental illness could have a psychotic break and whatnot. But does that mean that we can't vote yes to legalize it? Like, that doctor, not all doctors, but that doctor, he's like straight up saying, no, this will be bad for the state. I'm like, bruh, like, people are telling you that they have had life-changing experiences and they've been able to fight PTSD and depression, but
the money's in coddling.
The money's in fucking prescriptions.
Right, and coddling them, right? The number one thing that I've kind of observed, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because this is your field, but you have to approach the issues head on. You can't escape it. And I feel like a lot of like the therapy that goes on, and I'm not saying that, it's all like this, but the overarching, because a lot of these things like with BetterHelp and these other type of services that's kind of made it mainstream.
Yeah.
Or maybe the intentions aren't there's no like true intentions other than just to profit, right? And to just create a customer and a consumer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not really trying to hold their client accountable I'm talking about just the overarching players in the game. They're not holding their clients really accountable and truly trying to get to it. They're trying to, prolong profit. I feel like maybe it's kind of like the system is kind of broken. So what they think is the way to solve this issue is to do it how it's been done. Because, yeah, right now, this person's talking it through with me. We're in a very safe environment. You're coddled. It's very controlled. But then when you're back in the real world and you have to deal with your triggers and what bothers you, and you have your episode, that's not really, the therapy's not working. Just because the session's going good there. And like I'm saying, I'm just maybe from what I've observed and from things, but when you're using the things like the psychedelics and the ayahuascas and stuff like that, it's taking away your unconscious and it's forcing you to deal with that issue. Like the MDMA, it puts you into that state of being a little bit more optimistic and happy, to where when you do have to confront the issue, you're not doing it in a scared mindset. It's probably in a little bit more open-minded, accepting of the issue and accepting of the solution and the reality, or the reality of what the situation is. And so the psychedelics is what helps you get to that state to where you're subconscious of where you're always there to protect yourself. It takes away those guards, and those things that you think that you've dealt with from a long time ago are still there. They've never left. It's just masking itself in different ways, and you aren't truly holding yourself accountable. You're staying away from things. Maybe that's not the true thing. Like, you shouldn't stay away from your triggers. You should learn to like operate when you're confronted with that trigger. And so not using something to help you get into a state of mind to confront your true issue with yourself deep within and in your mind, you're never going to truly like evolve and get to the point where you accept the solution.
Yeah. Right.
the solution is not the solution. There's a solution that people want to where, oh, if I'm fully healed with my therapy, that means I'm going to work, doing it well. I'm going and working out. I have a social life and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really the signs of your therapy working. That just means you've created a structure to not trigger yourself. Right? Maybe I'm dumbing it down. Maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way.
No,
you got to be able to like, okay, go and like be annoyed by something and know that, let's say, to deal with the issues that trigger you, right? And so, not unless you have the help of the MDMA, the ayahuasca, the other things, the mushrooms. And the mushrooms also just helps you with your synapses and your development of your brain waves and all the brain waves and all like all that's the paths and all that stuff. So
yeah,
you're not going to do that just by talking and taking pills. And I just feel like that's the generic solution.
It is,
because that's the most profitable solution.
Yeah.
Because my brother was in it. He was in like healthcare in the sense of either have the option of using behavioral therapy to treat an issue, or do a methadone clinic. Their practices decided to go behavioral because, first of all, the optics. If you're running a methadone clinic, you're going to have people lined up out the office every day like clockwork, and that's just bad optics. It's like just prolonging the fiends, right? At least behavioral therapy, you're trying to come to a solution. So like, there's always these ongoing battles between like, are we serving the actual issue that's not very profitable, or are we going to go and try to give them a crutch that's profitable? And that's just America in a nutshell.
Hey man, you're speaking my language. But yeah, I definitely can go down the rabbit hole in terms of mental health. Real quick with the platforms. So what you were talking about is like what some people are referring to as the platformization of mental health. It's like, sign up to BetterHelp. Your therapist is like, you get assigned a therapist right away. They're available by text message if you need, and if you don't like your therapist, you can sign it up with another one. You just have to pay this flat monthly fee and you can have whatever number of appointments, which, when people are talking about a mental health crisis, that sounds pretty good, but mental health treatment is, you said it perfectly. You are supposed to confront like yourself, and it's not, you're not going to be able to necessarily confront yourself right away. I mean, psychedelics helps, and that's what their use is for. But if you're going into like the sort of traditional talk therapy, as they say, like the process is sort of through self-discovery and through open dialogue with someone else who really cares about your development and your self-discovery. And so it's like you're kind of peeling back the layers, but the platformization of therapy, the BetterHelps, the talk spaces, and BetterHelp has been fined by the FTC, I think.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to denigrate the entire establishment because they're licensed therapists who are trying to do a good job. But when you start peeling back all of that stuff, even the telehealth stuff, like I think it's a wonderful thing, that people can access therapy from anywhere now, but it changes the situation. Like before, you would have to go into someone's space and like you would have to be in there and feel each other's energy, smell each other's stank ass breath, like, that's part of it. But psychedelics for sure, it's one way that people can receive healing. And honestly, frankly, I said this on the last podcast, perhaps maybe it shouldn't be a medical thing, because in many other parts of the world and for many generations before the current era, psychedelics were treated as rituals,
right?
Like you would have
ceremonies,
ceremonies, and you would have, I'm sure there are different ways it could be done, but you would have like a community with you, like a village or whatever. It would be like a rites of passage, the way that is going down the medical establishment is turning into pills, basically,
Yeah.
So,
you gotta, my friend that did it, so you gotta reach out to him. If you don't have his information, I'll give it to you. because he'll talk to you about it because he's gone through the whole thing. He's done everything. He's done, and even like seeked, like he has the means to do so. He seeked a very good, like he went out to the West Coast, and it was like a team of people that basically helped him with shrooms, and they did this whole thing of using shroom therapy, and it was like a whole collective. He would spend one day with this person, then spend the next day with this person and that person. And there was like a team of 4 or 5 people, and they met and they collectively talked and spoke about what's going on. And he was really impressed with how they really went about it. And really, he had some breakthroughs with that. And then he moved on to like, I think MDMA. And then from there, he went to the ayahuasca, and the ayahuasca, he said, was the one that really, really gave him the breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you gotta reach out to him, talk to him about it, because he'll talk to you about it. You'll find it interesting. He'll like talking to you about it. It's like going vegan. You know, once you do it, you're gonna tell everybody.
I love that title. And but anyway, this is #RTBTH, Real Talk Beyond the Headlines. Parodies, thank you for coming on the podcast and dropping knowledge about the Hawks, about the NBA. Oh damn, we didn't even get into the Falcons, but you know what? I would feel very bad about talking about the Falcons without Herschel being here.
I know, we need him.
So let's get the podcast back together. #RTBTH, Real Talk Beyond the Headlines. ATL_P is where you can find them. Anyway, we out. Peace.
#RTBTH, Real Talk Beyond the Headlines. We out. We out. Production.
Okay, give me a second to breathe.